Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of this Unbelievable Life. I have someone very special for us today. It is my dear longtime friend, Bonnie Schnautz, who is trained as a naturopathic doctor. She studied digestive health and mental fitness specialist. Her vision and mission through Be Renewed Wellness, her company, Be Renewed Wellness Solutions, are to educate and support women to overcome health challenges and remain healthy mentally and physically using natural solutions. She was able to overcome numerous health issues naturally and teaches others to do the same. And we cannot wait to hear more. Today, her talk is entitled Your Body, Temple, or Garage, which incorporates natural solutions for your health with biblical principles. Bonnie provides education, nutritional support, gut hormone, and neurotransmitter testing, along with homeopathy and supplemental solutions. Bonnie, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Nikki. It's an absolute honor to be here and share. So I'm going to go ahead and get my slides up here and we will get started. Okay. So as Nikki said, I was trained as a naturopathic doctor, digestive health specialist, and most recently as a mental fitness coach, as I realized that so much of our physical health stems from our mental health. And so this just gave me an additional tool and resource to support women. I work primarily with women and with some children as well. And that I'm realizing there's so much stress and our stress continues to increase. So that was so important. So today's talk is all about your body, temple, or garage. And it's about protecting the body that God gave us. Most of us come out of the gate pretty healthy. And what happens through our life and through either intentional or unintentional, we create imbalance in our body. So I am going to share 8 steps that will help each one of you to become healthier, both mentally and physically on your journey. So I'm going to ask, can you relate to any of these health issues? This is allergies, there's asthma, sinus, flu, bronchitis, IBS, digestive health issues, hormonal imbalance, adrenal fatigue, excess weight, which most women, that's why they come to me, high cholesterol, depression, anxiety. Well, I was blessed with all of these. And I say blessed because there was a gift behind each one of those. Because what I did is, well, let me share what didn't work for me first before I go to the next phase here. So like most people, you go to the doctor, right, when you don't feel well. And I got medication after medication after medication for everything. Now, it's not to say all medications are bad, because they're not. I know there's some life-saving things out there, but for me, the side effects of the medications were far worse than what the health issues were that I was experiencing. So I knew I had to find another option. And so I dealt with these health issues probably from my very, very early teens all the way to almost 40 years old. So that's a long period of my life, right? So I was really anxious to find those solutions. So I'd like to say I had it all figured out, but it was kind of accidental that I figured this out. I started changing my diet first, and all I did is change to whole, what I call clean, and that's direct sources of food that weren't in bags, they weren't in boxes. And then eventually I switched from whole food to whole organic food. And one by one, my allergies went away. My asthma went away. I no longer had annual sinus and flu and bronchitis. My IBS was gone. My digestive issues were balanced. My hormones were balanced. My adrenal fatigue, that's a little bit different story. That has a lot to do with emotional, and I probably won't get into a lot of that today, but happy to share if you'd like to contact me with that. Excess weight dropped. That was just a beautiful side effect of all these other things happening. And I thought, oh my goodness, I never counted a calorie. I never counted a point. I just started eating whole food. There's high cholesterol, depression, anxiety, all those things went away. Now, with depression, anxiety, I would say never, please never go off medications without support of your medical professional who prescribed them for you. But do know, I want to give you hope, because I was able to get off them. And I have been over the counter and medication free for 20 years. Not a single thing has gone in my body. It's powerful. It really is. So it can be done. So my job is to instill hope in you, right? That you can do these same things. And if you need help, I am here to help you, because that is my mission and my vision, is to help as many women as possible, because we're the nutritional gatekeepers. And when we can impact women, and that's not to say some men don't grocery shop or cook, because there's a lot of them as well, but we know that typically it's the woman has, you know, that autonomy and that authority, and she's making food for her family and she's shopping. So if I can positively impact women, I can change lives of family, prevent disease, and possibly death as well. And that sounds like a really bold statement, but it's not, because like I said, I have authority from God, and that's who gave me this gift. So Your Body, Temple, or Garage is about 8 steps. And this is kind of what I boiled it down to, what healed me. So first and foremost, step 1 is prayer. We've got to talk to the builder. We've got to ask God for healing, right? And then we've got to believe that God will heal us. Step 2 is nutrition. We have to protect the temple. Nutrition is about feeding and detoxing cells. So it's so important we're putting proper nutrients in. Fun, sweaty activity, FSA as I call it, shaping the temple. And step number 4 is sleep. We have to rebuild the temple. Step 5 is hydration. If our body's 80% water, we have to continue to drink and replenish that. And we have to make sure we have clean sources of water, especially right now when we have chemical spills going on. We have to prepare ourselves, and we have to protect ourselves from additional chemicals. Because I always say, especially as it pertains to, typically we're over toxic. We're not overweight, we're over toxic. And a lot of our balances are because of toxicities, either intentionally or unintentionally created in our lifestyle and diet. Step number 6 is nature, renewing the temple, being outside. And I'm looking outside right now. It's absolutely beautiful. I don't know if it's beautiful today where you're at, but it's sunshine. And just, it's so, we can ground and into the earth. There's so many things we can do. Detox, which I call expelling the demons. We have a lot of toxicities. We have a lot of exposures. Just, whether we have a direct exposure, as we know is happening today in a lot of areas of the country, or it's indirect, but we are over toxic in a just a big way. And I'll go into a little bit more about that later. Stress. Now, stress is all about peace. It's a peace that passes all understanding. And this PowerPoint, I've been teaching this for probably about 15 years. And I thought about this today as I always rehearse my presentation, make sure I have the timing down and to honor the host and the time. But when I looked at this, I thought, you know what? Stress really needs to go. Stress needs to be number 2. It really does. And here's a few reasons why. And I'll cover this in a little bit more when I get to step number 8, which again should really be step number 2. We are more stressed than ever, right? About half of all Americans stress is it's just getting worse and worse. And stress contributes to disease, and it contributes to early death. So 77% of people experience stress that impacts their physical health. 73% of people have stress that impacts their mental health. 48% of people have trouble sleeping because of stress. We know there's a direct impact, and we know this is Alzheimer's is very predominant, right? More than we've ever heard. And there is a direct correlation between lack of sleep and sleep issues and cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's. So there's so many reasons we need to reduce our stress, manage our stress. And I know that word's used a lot, but the beauty is there are tools and resources that I would love to share with you if you want to delve into this a little bit further. So what are some of the reasons why we're unhealthy, we're sick, we're out of balance? Is that our food quality is decreased. So we have more preservatives, more flavor enhancers. We're going to package processed food because we're, quote, so busy. We're so busy that we can't make our health a priority anymore. And that's really all it is. We have to shift our priorities because our health is everything, right? The amount of money doesn't matter. You can ask anyone diagnosed with cancer or chronic disease. They're not going to tell you they wish they had more money or they spent more time at work or they were more successful. They're going to tell you they wish they had more time with their family and quality time, not sick time. And then we've got synthetic, whether it's vitamins, we've got genetically modified everything, which is, wreaking so much havoc. And that's, besides eating organic, I try to eat predominantly genetically modified or non-GMO, because I know the studies show that there is a direct correlation with an imbalance. I'll be polite and say imbalance of the body. There's less nutrients because our soil is deficient. There's more pesticides, artificial colors, which we know is impacting our children greatly. So these are all things. And I want to take a minute and just talk about what I call is the stress cascade. The stress cascade is the disease process, and stress starts with three areas. And I'll get into this again a little bit more when we get to it, but it's mechanical, emotional, nutritional. But I want to spend a moment talking about chemical/nutritional. It's foods we should not be eating, and it's foods we're not eating. So that's creating imbalance in the body. That's creating nutritional deficiencies, right? And instead of us thinking of, most of us go to, we want to lose weight, we want to get healthy, we start exercising. That's the wrong direction. We need to look at our nutrients and our level of nutrients in our body, because if we're increasing the level of free radicals through extreme exercise, we're creating more free radicals. We don't have the antioxidants. We don't have the nutrition to cover it. We're creating more damage, more inflammation. So that's where it becomes dangerous. And if I would say, if I had a dime for every woman that came to me and said, but I am eating fruits and, I eat healthy. That's what I hear all the time. Oh, I eat healthy. But unfortunately, we're not. If this is peach ice cream on top of carrot cake, and trust me, I'd love a good piece of carrot cake from time to time. And I use an 80-20 rule. I am not perfect. And I live in the South now. I'm from the North, but I've keep moving further south for some reason. I think because it's warmer. And that, this is, it's all about balance. So you don't have to be perfect. Promise me, I am not perfect, but it is the 80-20 rule. So what's going on? Americans are living to eat. We are putting stuff in bags and boxes and just basically, I call it crap. It's food that has no nutritional value. And, whether it's beverages or, fast food or even sit down food, it's very low quality. So a lot of people say, well, I don't eat at McDonald's. Well, that's great. But honestly, a lot of our sit down restaurants have no higher quality than that fast food that you think is less healthy. Sad, but true. So how should we be viewing food? We should be eating to live. So here's my mantra that I ask myself when I make a food choice. Will this food harm or will it heal my body? Simple question you can ask yourself. If you have a bowl of fruits and vegetables, sitting on, I always say, put fruits and vegetables, anything that can sit out, set them out in a bowl, in a beautiful bowl. Especially if you have children, they're going to grab, not a candy bowl, not a cookie jar, but fruits and vegetables that are clean and washed and ready to consume, because kids are grazers and they will go to what is ready and available and healthy, because that's how God designed us. Give a piece of candy and an avocado to a baby. I will tell you, it works in every situation or I say 99% of the situations, that baby will choose an avocado. They know what their body needs, right? That good, healthy fat is for brain function. So we innately know what to choose. So we are repairing damaged tissue. Now get excited about this, right? And I know this is kind of geeky and I'm a little geeky, but that's okay. Fuel your body and create proper immune function. I don't think there has never been a time in history that we knew proper immune function and balanced immune systems were ever so important as what we've experienced in the last 3 years, right? And having proper body weight, being in balance and not being obese. These things we learned were critical to our lives, to our longevity, to our health. So this is, I can't emphasize this enough. Okay. So now we're going to go on to step 1. Talking to the builder, right? Studies have proven that those who pray or were prayed for healed faster. And why is that? I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to ask you to do the same, because prayer calms the nervous system. I get really excited when I present, so sometimes I just have to take a breath. Calms the nervous system. It slows our fight or flight response, which is our elevated cortisol, which is creating a lot of imbalance, adrenal fatigue, hormone imbalance, lack of sleep, right? When our melatonin and our cortisol become inverted. Prayer makes you less reactive to negative emotions and less angry. You're happier. There's more peace, right? And, if nothing else, if you don't believe in prayer, at least spend 10 minutes a day in gratitude or in love, right? There's a place right here in our hearts where love is centered, and God is love, right? And even if you spend 10 minutes a day in showing appreciation, I have a gratitude journal on my nightstand, either first thing in the morning or last thing before I lay my head on my pillow. I write in my gratitude journal. I make sure I express gratitude and love for everything that I experienced. And there's so much power in that. And this is one of my favorite verses, Philippians 4:6. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanks, present your request to God. So come in with that attitude of assumption, right? Assume that your prayers will be answered, because I truly believe they will. And spending time here is definitely the first perfect start. Nutrition, protecting the temple, right? So the number one thing I find as I look at tons of food logs from women, and I do work with men too, so I don't want to slight men, but I always joke that most women come to me. A lot of men don't come to me because sometimes they think they don't have health issues, right? And they like to manage it themselves, which is perfectly fine. And again, I like to help the nutritional gatekeeper because I can impact more people that way and more families. So increasing raw fruits and vegetables, greens, leafy greens, and whole grains, nuts, and seeds. These are so critical. This is what we're nutritionally deficient in. Why? Because they contain fiber. Animals do not contain fiber. They contain, I should say, very little, if any. Because if you got a cow that is grass-fed, like they have, they're consuming some grass, but it's not the same as consuming fresh or frozen, not canned, raw fruits and vegetables. Why? Because they contain live enzymes. Raw food, no, I'm not talking sushi. You don't want me to go into the whole parasite issue there with raw seafood. Raw fruits and vegetables, plants contain enzymes. Enzymes are protein catalysts. They take your food and break it into nutrients. And all the time I ask people, are you taking digestive enzymes? They're like, oh, I take probiotics. Okay, that's not the same at all. Two different things. But these protein catalysts are critical, and they are found in locally grown, fresh, raw fruits and vegetables, and frozen, because they have not been heated. Anytime you heat something over 106 degrees, it is pretty much void of enzymes. You have destroyed the life in that food. This is why I encourage people to include raw fruits and vegetables in every meal. Now, typically I can include raw vegetables with a meal. So if I have a salad for lunch, if I'm having, broccoli and fish for supper, I'll have some, cut up some raw carrots or some raw bell peppers, making sure I'm incorporating those raw in every single meal. So we're getting those enzymes. And you can always take digestive enzymes if you're over 40. I highly recommend it. And we can even provide testing that tells you which enzymes that you need, which is so powerful. So again, getting away from, and buying as much organic as possible, organic produce. If you don't know about the Clean 15 Dirty Dozen, I encourage you to Google that. That's put together by the Environmental Working Group, which is EWG.org. And they have a list of the most highly sprayed fruits and vegetables that you should absolutely avoid. That's called the Dirty Dozen. The Clean 15 is the list of produce that is grown with very low levels. And for an example, strawberries and blueberries and apples are highly sprayed. If you cannot find them certified organic, or you grow them organically or know someone that does, it's best not to eat them, because the level of pesticides are really they're doing more damage than good, I should say. So it is so important. Again, I realized I wasn't, sick because I lacked medication. I was sick because I was literally poisoning myself, and I had no idea. So reducing bags and boxes and cans, and reducing animal protein and dairy. It's super hard to break down. It creates very painful aging. You see a lot of men and women with, the really thick, the arthritic conditions. A lot of that is from too many animal products. Now, granted, If you have access to raw goat milk or raw, and I know that's a little controversy in some states, actually here in our beautiful state of South Carolina, you can sell raw cow's milk, which is lovely. So, occasionally consuming that, there's nothing wrong with that. And, a lot of people eat yogurt, but yogurt is full of sugar. There's really not nutritional value unless you're buying plain, unflavored, unsweetened organic yogurt. That would be a better option than over consuming sugar. Sugar, as I tell people, is the devil. When I consume sugar, my anxiety level just goes off the charts. I mean, my inflammation rises. I get headaches. I mean, I can go on. And so again, I just avoid as much sugar as possible, because that's what really works for me. Our bodies were not designed to receive and intake the amount of sugar that we are, especially as you look at children with a lot of health issues or behavioral issues, can be completely alleviated by reducing or eliminating as much sugar as possible and replacing it with natural fruit sugar, right? From real fruit, making smoothies. I make a green smoothie or a fruit smoothie every single morning almost. That's one of my favorite foods. So, and again, Ezekiel 47:12 tells us the fruit will serve for food and their leaves for healing. Oh my goodness, that is so cool. Okay, 75% is all lifestyle and disease, or all preventable through lifestyle, right? All are disease. So there's 20 million adults that have coronary heart disease. That's 1 in 5. That creates 697 deaths per year. There's 2 million women will develop cancer. There's breast cancer and lung cancer are our top two. Wide lung cancer, this is my unscientific theory, because the level of perfumes, which is a xenoestrogen. It is a hormone disruptor and it impacts our lungs, right? And, whether it's all those plugins are promoting or the smelly things in your dryer sheets or fabric softeners or whatever we're putting in our environment is we are inundated with toxins and we are smelling, breathing those in, and that's impacting our lungs and our health. And our body can only work so hard to filter things out. So our liver is impacted. So it weakens our liver. Our kidney can be impacted. So all our immune organs can be impacted. So again, obesity has increased. I have been presenting this, like I said, for almost 15 years. I used to always say, I had it memorized, obesity is 30% of our population. And before I got on this presentation, I thought, you know what, I always try to update my numbers, which I did, to make sure they're current and still accurate. And obesity has increased from 30 to 40%. Okay, and if we look at our youth, it is very evident. We have a sedentary lifestyle. We have too much access to processed foods, to sugar. It's heartbreaking, especially to see children. So again, 1 in 5 live with chronic pain as well. So all these things are preventable by what we eat. We are what we eat, truly. Okay, what about our children? We talked about that. By age 12, a large number are creating hardening of the arteries, which is unheard of in children. They're being treated with statin drugs. If you've ever seen an adult have side effects with statin drugs, you would not wish this on your children, because they can be debilitating, pain, etc. 25% of our children, this one may have increased, to be honest. This is, like I said, maybe a little bit older, but it is 25% of our children are taking prescription medications. The obesity rates, again, are rising. Anxiety and depression are off the charts. Talk to any therapist. Again, another reason I went into mental fitness training. I don't call it mental health. I believe it's part of our fitness protocol. It's just part of, we need to practice it every day, because all you have to do is turn on social media or turn on the news to know that there's a lot of stress going on and that it's impacting our lives. And as far as adolescent females, we're showing a 15.6% increase in prescriptions. Again, this is unheard of. Think about, if you're, I don't know what age range, but I would say if you're between 40 and 60 years old, that you probably didn't hang around with a lot of kids that you knew that were on prescriptions. That was pretty rare, unless they had a really chronic disease. So again, just all things that we need to pay attention to. Okay, and I want to talk about one thing, if I can teach you that you can take away. I always try to give you takeaways that, okay, here's something you can do learn to read ingredient labels. I do not care about nutritional facts. I do not care about calories, about anything, because if your ingredient labels are not food, you're going to put them back on the shelf and walk the other way because they're toxic, right? So here's an example, 2 different packages of crackers. So here we're looking at comparing ingredients. If there's one thing I want you to walk away from and I want you to have in your arsenal is learning how to read an ingredient label. I don't care about nutritional facts. I've never counted calories, never counted points. I lost all my weight by eating real food. Now, I say, yes, is this a packaged food? Yes, we do have packaged food in our home. Typically it's organic, and we limit what we eat. It doesn't make up the 80%. It's more the 20%. So if you look at the ingredient of the cracker on the left, you have, if you go down to where it's highlighted, rice, flour, soybean oil, white cheddar cheese, all those, I would say, soybean oil is genetically modified unless it says non-GMO, which it's not. We're looking at, if we go down further, it says contains 2% or less. It has monosodium glutamate, MSG, that can pass the blood-brain barrier, that can create mental, emotional issues. It can create vision. I've correlated it back to detached retinas. I mean, the list is endless. It contains a lot of animal products, which means if it's not organic, it contains antibiotics, steroids, hormones, and more genetically modified ingredients. So these are things. Rice, unfortunately, if it's not organic, contains high amounts of arsenic. So these are things that you would look at and say, you know what, that probably is not a good choice. So let's go over here, follow the arrow down to Mary's crackers. This contains whole grain, and these are all organic quinoa, brown rice, flax seeds, sesame seeds, filtered water, sea salt. Okay, so they're both food. So if you are a calorie counter and you want to count at this point that this is food, then you could look at the calories. I don't recommend it. It's just I would say it's a waste of time because you really want to focus on eating whole food because that's how our body was designed. So that's something when you walk into a grocery store, be an ingredient, not a label reader, an ingredient reader. Know what is in your food. Okay, here's another example, conventional taco seasoning. Now I can tell you the sodium levels on these are usually off the charts. Anything in a little package like this, seasonings are super high, but we also have maltodextrin, cornstarch. Those 2 will be genetically modified. There's also canola and soybean oil. Those are genetically modified. And the beauty of this is that they tell you, it says right down here, if you can see on the left where my cursor is, produced with genetic engineering. They're not even trying to hide it. They're telling you that that is not real food. So you can immediately think, okay, I'm not going to consume this. Again, it has 12% sodium. I tell people to look for 5% or less if you're using a packaged product. So this is my taco seasoning ingredient. You can't read it very well, but basically it has chili powder, it has garlic, it has, there's no salt in it whatsoever. It has paprika, it has red pepper flakes, oregano. You can make this up in literally 5 minutes. I have this on my website with a lot of other recipes that I make it in bulk, have it available. I never have to go to the store to buy that. Okay, step number 3. Shaping the temple. This is your fun, sweaty activity, your FSA, right? And exercise, I never like that word because I never liked exercise, but I do love to move my body. I like to do, and I tell people, do something that you think is fun, right? What brings you joy? Is it tennis? Is it gardening? Is it mowing the lawn manually? Is it, what is it that creates movement in your body? Is it walking? I love to walk. I love to do gentle restorative yoga is much better than intense yoga. I think with women, we've got to get out of the mindset that we need high intensity physical activity because we don't. A lot of times that's increasing our cortisol and forcing us to hold on to weight when we need to do more relaxing, restorative yoga. I actually work out in an infrared sauna. It's a triple bonus because I'm getting the exercise, the heat, along with the infrared detox all in one. And we have facilities here that offer that. So that you can check into that in your area. It also releases endorphin. And we know that exercise, physical activity is the #1 remedy for depression, #1. Now, having been through depression myself, I know that it's not that easy to say, oh, just go exercise, right? It's not that simple because you sometimes, I call it the dark hole. You don't want to come out. And that's when you need somebody with love that will love you and support you. And like my husband did and said, get out of bed, get dressed and go move your body, or come on, let's go for a walk. And that is some of the most powerful therapy that is when you have somebody that loves you that much, that will push you and help you. And not, I call it push you with care, right? Push you with love. So, and then again, we know this improves sleep. And just like we talked about, the lack of sleep is literally creating so much harm and so much disease. And we kind of wear that like a badge of honor, right? Well, I'm getting by in 4 hours of sleep. We don't really recommend that. Okay, step number 4 leads us to sleep. This is when we rebuild the temple, right? So what happens at night? Our body's production of antioxidants, we're repairing, we're rebuilding. That's why it's so critical. That's why teenagers sleep for hours and hours, because they've got a lot, they're growing, right? Their body is very active. So we recommend being asleep between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. because that's when the body does a lot of its work. And we definitely recommend, I say 7 to 9, but everybody's a little bit different. Maybe you get by in 6. That's okay. Listen to your body. And sometimes you need more if you have adrenal fatigue, or of course with teenagers, they need more like 10 to 12. Be okay with that. You figure out what works for you and what your body needs and when you feel best, and honor that. Electronic insomnia is what I call too much of this technology. We've got to have a powered down hour. If it's not a full hour, I say at least a minimum of 30 minutes. Put your phone away, grab a book, avoid anything with technology. And please, please, please do not leave your cell phone plugged in next to your nightstand. It's okay to have if you need an alarm clock, get an old fashioned alarm clock, or put your cell phone in the next room. In our case, I keep my cell phone in the bathroom attached to our bedroom. So it's not next to my head, but it's there if I would need it. If you have someone that you care for, that you need access to it, you can still hear it in there, but yet you're not sleeping with it plugged in. We know when it's plugged in, there's higher rates of EMFs coming from the phone. You can also use a cell phone protection, EMF protection, like I do on my phones as well. So these are all things that you can incorporate. And as far as sleep is concerned, make sure you have a dark room, make sure it's quiet unless you use white noise, which is perfectly fine. But it's really important for us to stimulate how we used to go to sleep. Like, in caveman days, it would get dark and that's when you knew it was time to go to bed. But today we have so much artificial light coming at us that's really disruptive, and that can disrupt our melatonin and cortisol levels. So they're upside down basically. So we're waking up exhausted and we're getting wound up at night. So that's a lot of the adrenal activity that's going on in the world. All right. And this brings us to step number 5, which is hydration. If our body is 80% water, we have to rehydrate, right? And I say, what is not hydration? It's not coffee. It's not black tea. Herbal tea is fine. It's not soda. How much? Half your body weight in filtered water. If you have to buy bottled water, that square bottle, I believe it's called Fiji water, is a good option. So you have to be careful. A lot of waters are basically using tap water. Again, having an under the counter system or a tabletop water filtration system is so important to incorporate into your household. So why water carries nutrients to the cells, it flushes out. A lot of women, I realize, have an issue sweating. So a lot of times that's a sign of dehydration. You have to have plenty of hydration to allow your body to sweat. So again, we know that's one of the main, our skin is our number one way that we receive, whether we're receiving toxins or chemicals through skincare or cleaning products, but it's also how we flush out toxins. So make sure you are staying hydrated. Okay, number 6, renewing the temple. Get outside, get in nature. There's fresh air, there's sunshine. It's absolutely free. The vitamin D is, and always supplement with vitamin D in the winter. If you're in a northern or Midwestern state, Always get your vitamin D levels tested so you know where you're at, so you know how much you need. Again, grounding, take your shoes and socks off. I try to do it once a day. Luckily, I can do it most days here. And grounding has shown so many benefits, from improved sleep to just creating a sense of peace and just getting into, getting back into nature. So
really quick to interject, could you explain a little bit more the concept of grounding? I don't think necessarily that everybody's familiar with that.
okay, as far as the benefits, or
In terms of what exactly it is, my understanding, I practically live barefoot, so for me,
oh, good, yeah.
it's one of those things. It's not a big deal, but a lot of people aren't used to taking their shoes and socks off and going outside, and why would they do that?
Okay, got it. Okay. And then as far as, getting fresh air, grounding, taking your shoes and socks off and making sure you're connecting with the earth, right? You're grounding your electrical systems, if we can call it, that is really critical to protecting, our bodies. And, walking barefoot helps release endorphins. And that's part of it. It can improve sleep. It can help your cortisol rhythms. It can help with reduced pain. But there's, it's just, you're really reconnecting to, to God is the simple, version of what it is. So there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of different ways to reconnect with nature. And that's a really powerful one of taking off your shoes and socks, which we don't think of, important for immune response, etc. So with that, getting out, going to parks, woods, mountains, lakes and streams, etc. Those are all ways that we can reconnect with nature and with God, and recognizing the beauty. A lot of times we're not stopping and we're not slowing down. We're going from point A to point B. Maybe your drive to work does look at woods or mountains or lakes or streams. Be present in that moment. If there's the number one thing is, don't miss out on the present. And that's something that we are critically lacking in. Step number 7 is toxicity. We've got to expel our toxins. Eating organic food is why it's so critical, because those organic plants also contain fibers, which is how we reduce toxic levels in the body. We've got to reduce them, throughout our whole body. It's also, the toxins are going into our brain. It's creating a lot of brain fog, cognitive impairment, memory issues. So again, we just toxins aren't isolated into the lower half of our body. They're also impacting the brain, which is, it's very concerning. So replacing cleaning products, replacing personal care products, always making sure that your products, even organic products, can contain perfume or natural. Natural, there is no regulations around. It really means nothing. So read your ingredients. I don't care if it's food, or if it's personal care or cleaning. Learn to be a label reader for ingredients. Medications and over-the-counters, the same thing. What are you putting in your body? I know some people fully trust their medical professional, and that's great. I question everyone. You are your own best advocate for your health. Do not trust without knowing what you are putting in your body. And does it have, I worked in pharmaceuticals for 8 years. Things that come out on the market should have long-term research behind them to back them. So all the information would be accessible to find that information. The same with over-the-counters. You can replace that with herbs, with homeopathics, with supplementation. If you have mercury, the silver fillings in your mouth, you may want to look at those. How many do you have? Is it worth having them removed if you're having some issues around heavy metal toxicity? Do you have heavy metal toxicity? How much mercury do you have? There's heavy metal toxic testing that we offer. So composites, of course, are a much safer option. Most newer dentists will only put the composites in now. But if you do have your mercuries removed, please contact and find a biological dentist. You don't want to go to just any dentist, because they may have not been trained in the proper procedure. Otherwise, it's going to be reintroducing it into your body, into your bloodstream. Of course, alcohol and tobacco products, whether you've smoked in the past or overconsume alcohol. And I don't know how to break this to you, but wine is not a health product, health beverage. It contains large amounts of pesticides from the grapes. If you look up the level of pesticides in grapes, you can see this directly. And I tell people, if you do consume wine or enjoy that, make sure it's from a source outside of the US, and typically not from California, or buy organic wine, which, yes, it is possible to find it just about in any store. Tobacco, we know, and vaping is not safer than tobacco. So always think about how you can protect your temple and really honor the body that God gave you. Step number 8, again, this is the one that really should be number 2. Stress is just, we are at chronic levels right now. It is impacting the long-term stress is leading to Alzheimer's, to anxiety, to dementia, to depression, to digestive issues, especially digestive issues, which are gut. There's a whole mind-body connection, and that is the foundation of our health. It's leading to heart disease, to heart attacks, to sleep problems, sudden and early death. So if that doesn't convince you, again, stress is anything that upsets our normal state. It's exhaustion, overwhelm. I see it all. And psychological stress does do physical harm. As I just read, we need to eliminate or reduce our exposure to people who are toxic. It's not just things. That's one way to reduce stress. It's about time management. It's about organization. Staying organized reduces our stress levels. A lot of us have, especially entrepreneurs, I'm guilty in this one. We have either, I call it Superman, Superwoman, or hyperachiever syndrome, where we're constantly looking for that next achievement. We wear it like a badge of honor, but that literally is creating stress. And again, we teach people through mental fitness how to overcome that and how to just learn to be happy with where you're at, and learning to rest and to just be. And again, one of my favorite verses, John 14:27, peace I leave you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives, right? We cannot find peace in this world, and you sure cannot find it turning on the television or social media, right? And that's another way to detox, and I need to add that on, is to detox from social media. I highly encourage you to take the weekends off. If you use it for your business, I understand, but you've got to give yourself some downtime and unplug literally from all that. Okay. I want to close this and wrap it up saying, first and foremost, Nikki, thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this UnBee-lievable life and your podcast. And, you know, this is what, if you go to the doctor, this is what I wanted to tell you. You have a rare condition, and it's called good health. And frankly, he or she will not know how to treat it. And that's what I love. And that's what I want you to strive for. Living as, you know, I would say you want to die young as late in life as possible, right? We want to be there for our kids. We want to be there for our grandkids. So thank you so much. If you need help with any of your health, feel free to contact me. Here's my contact information, a few things that I can provide. And again, just thank you so much for this time and for your attention, and let me know how I can serve.
Bonnie, thank you so much. This is such profoundly and impactful information. That's why I was so excited to bring you on. And thank you so much for sharing your contact information. And I will be sure to put it in the post when we start sharing this. You are the absolute bestest. And again, such impactful things. I think a lot of us, after hearing this, might reevaluate, you know, our choices, our life, all the things. And again, if anyone needs to reach out to you for questions or for help and the services that you offer, again, it's on this last slide, and I will be adding it in the post when we share. So thank you so much for sharing your UnBee-lievable life. You're the absolute bestest. And then we hope that everyone has a blessed and fabulous day.
Awesome. Thank you.